Well, well, kids, it's time for bedtime stuff. Courtesy of the library. Look what I got in my hands. Got Walt Disney, got all kinds of movies. Based on Walt Disney movies, I got Winnie the Pooh and Tiger 2, and The Rescuers. Look at that. See why it's a good idea to go to the library? Look at that. Courtesy of the library up here at Fort Campbell, Winnie the Pooh and Tiger 2. Another good book to read. Of course, I could just make you wait till next weekend. Spoil you rotten. I thought we'd go over this one right here. Ta-da! Pearl Harbor. Recall. Do you see that? All kinds of pictures. God bless those World War II veterans. It's here Memorial Day weekend. Now, ain't that a pretty photo? Or we could read Ghost Ship. I know some of you parents are having a hard time explaining to your kids why there's no monsters in the closet during thunderstorms. Give your kids a hug for me, or you kids hug yourselves and your friends next to you in your bed. Care Bear, Teddy Bear cares. Right here. Caring about you being a kid at heart. Trust me, if I could hold your hand, I'd reassure you there's no monsters in the closet. Because of the big boom flash, think of it this way, as I said before, videos ago, think of it this way, when you're watching and hearing a lightning thunderstorm outside, it's pouring rain and it's hitting that window, and there's a tree branch, try to climb it. Think of it this way, it's just Mickey Mouse playing his drums up in them clouds. That's what Grandma said. It works. Trust me. While reading a bedtime story to yourself, or to those that love you. Moving right along, Ghost Ship, Mary Higgins Clark. Ta-da! Courtesy of the library. If you don't have this, I suggest you go to the nearest library and check one out. If you don't, check your bookstore, your nearest bookstore nearest you, especially those in Wales. God bless you. They got everything in there. Especially BarnesandNobles.com online would be the most greatest helpful tool on a website if you can't find anything at your bookstore. That would be beneficial. For those of you kids, I'll keep trying. Eventually you'll be able to check it out. See? The Ghost Ship. Ta-da! You seen Pirates of the Caribbean, the movie? I hope so. This will help you understand why ghosts can be in ships these days. What guides ships into seaports? Watchtowers, that's right. Ghost ship. Cape Cod story. See that? Ta-da! Important libraries nationwide and around the world. Summer had begun, and Thomas was visiting his grandmother, who lived in a very old house in Cape Cod that had once belonged to a sea captain. Sometimes she told him stories about the great sailing ships that had come to Cape Cod many years ago from all over the world. She told him that in the old days, when a storm suddenly began, a ship trying to reach harbor would be driven into the rocks, and sandbars where it would be break up and sink. Thomas loved to hear the stories. He wondered about the sea captain who had built this house more than 200 years ago. He wondered if the sea captain ever lost his ship in a storm. He thought about that all. See what I mean? Here's the shores. The boat. One day, Thomas went down a long flight of stairs from the lawn to the beach. He had promised his grandmother that he would not go too near the water until she joined him. His Grandmother knew that Thomas would never break his word. There had been a heavy storm that night before. The wind had whipped the waves until they slammed halfway up the stairs before crashing back onto the shore. Now the beach was littered with shells and rocks that had been washed in by the sea. Thomas began to sift sand through his fingers. The sand was damp, but he liked that. Sometimes after a storm he would find unusual things that had been in the ocean. Once he had been found a small ring. His grandma said it wasn't valuable, but that it had looked as though it had been in the ocean for a long, long time. He wondered if the big storm last night was possible that he would find another ring. Or maybe he'd come up on a broken shell. If he did find one, he would put it up to his ear and listen, because shells hold the sounds of the sea. But then suddenly his fingers felt a hard metal object. He had to dig around it to set it free. It was much heavier than a shell. It looked very, very old. He ran his fingers over and began to rub the sand and salt from it. But it was like trying to rub cement off a wall. He looked around and reached for a big rock and began to try to scrape the crust off. Whatever it was he was holding in his hand. You see him looking through the sand after a storm in the morning? Look at that. See the seagulls? Now that's exploring. And then something magical happened. The minute he managed to get down through the sand and salt, the metal object began to glisten. The rest of the sand salt got loose and slid it away. It's a belt buckle, Thomas explained. I like the one I wore when I was a pilgrim in the Thanksgiving play at school. Imagine finding a belt buckle in the sand. Though I have found my belt buckle, a polite voice said, I thank thee kindly. I lost it a very long time ago. Thomas looked up, his eyes widened. He could not believe what he was seeing. Standing in front of him on the beach was a boy, just about his own age. Thomas blinked, not sure if he was dreaming, yet sure that he couldn't be. He looked down and saw that the belt buckle was now so shiny that it might have been brand new. It was carved with a picture of a ship. A ship that had 4 sails that billowed in the wind. He knew he would give the buckle back, but at first he wanted to talk to the boy. My name is Thomas Fleming, he said. He pointed up to his grandmother's house. My grandmother lives there. He explained. Then, because he wasn't sure what else to say, he explained her house was built by a sea captain. His name was Andrew Hott. My name is Silas Rich, the other boy explained. I have the honor of serving Captain Hott. He was a very brave man and truly a great seafarer. I was his cabin boy. See that? Talking to each other. And you can see. As they stood on the seashore, Thomas did not even bother to wonder why the boy who lived so long ago was here. He just wanted to know about Captain Hott and whether or not he had been in his shipwreck. It was late afternoon. The lighthouse at Chatham could be seen blinking and blinking. Thomas knew it would flash twice every 10 seconds. He pointed to it. When Captain Hallett built this house in 1752, I know there was no lighthouse here. And I know that many ships crashed coming to harbor. Did that ever happen to him? See him pointing at the lighthouse? The lighthouse. That's what helps big ships come into port without crashing into the rock. Very important job those lighthouses have, especially during the fog bank where they can't see and they're blind. That light shows them the way. Light aside, he sat down cross-legged beside Thomas and said, it was a disgraceful and shameful event. He said, I truly dislike to call it to mind, but I can't see though admire the captain. I think it would please thee to hear the story. Captain Hallett was a very fine seaman, and because of that, some people were very jealous of him. He sailed the ocean with his sure hand. In his ship, the Mon Ami, he weathered storms that he would have sent other vessels to the bottom of the sea. In the year 1761, he had been away for nearly 2 years and was expected home. Word had come from the smaller vessels that he had met him nearing Boston Harbor, that he was on his way. Everyone was in great hope for his safe return. He was a giant of a man. Thomas could see the glow in the eyes of Silas Rich. He knew that he had not been wrong when he had thought of Andrew Howard as a hero. Tell me about him, Silas, Thomas urged. You see, there is a portrait of him in my grandma's house. It's out being cleaned now. But in he looked so strong and so wise and so fierce. Was he really like that? They both talked. Silas did not answer him. Silas did not answer him directly. Instead, he looked over in the direction of the lions. I love sober light, he said. Sober light? I don't know what that means, Thomas told. Perhaps, though, would say twilight or dusk. What I mean is this time, just before the sun is totally vanished in the sky. That was the way it was night Captain Howlett returned from his long voyage. Then suddenly the wind whipped up. Does that, though? No. Thomas moved around a little so they could face Silas Rich directly. He could sense from the look on the face of his new friend what he was going to hear, a story that had never been told before. My father had gone to sea before I was born. He never returned. But Captain Howlett was always very kind to me. He would take me out of his sloop, on his sloop. Silas began. Sloop, Thomas asked. A small vessel. Who knows what sloop means? When he was home, he would go out on it and see his grand ship, the Monomoy. When it was in harbor, my father had been his great friend, and so was I, as he told me forever, dear to him. He promised me that when I reached my 10th birthday, I would be appointed his cab boy and sail with him. Thomas was 9 years old. He thought of what his mother would say if he asked to sail away and be gone for as long as 2 years. See? Your mother would have let you go, he asked. She smiled. She knew my father would have wanted me to go. She understood the day was coming. Captain Hall was on his way home. When he left again, I could be his cabin boy. It had been a peaceful day after last night's storm. But then suddenly, as Silas spoke, the wind began to pick up. Thomas realized he was cold. He looked out at the water and saw how the whitecaps were higher and stronger. It was this sort of night in October when the captain was approaching the harbor on the Monomoy. Silas said a captain kind of storm came up, violent without warning. Thomas, we had a very dry time. The corn had burned in the ground before we could harvest it. The fields were parched. It was rare and dreadful summer and autumn. There was a great fear of fire. If fire became, it could destroy our homes. And then one did break out miles away in Brewster Village. Word came that many houses were ablaze, and the wind was driving the fire all through Mid-Cape. Aid was needed at once. We have fires like that, Thomas said. I live in California, and when the Santa Ana winds come, a fire may spread for miles. Silas looked at him with a curious expression, and Thomas realized that he never would have heard California or Santa Ana winds. Did people go to fight the fire? He asked. Every able-bodied man rushed onto his horse, or hitched up his mule to his buggy and traveled to help. I want to go, but they would not allow anyone so young to accompany him. I started him most disconsolate, and I'm afraid quite downcast. See, the fire rushed through the whole village. They're trying to put it out. The buckets from the ocean. I knew I was strong and could be of great use of packing buckets of water, but it was not to be. Thomas was no longer aware of how chilly it had become. He wanted to hear the rest of the story. I had gone but a short distance when I heard the sound of a horse approaching. I stepped aside and observed that it was none other than Samuel L. Lewis, a sorry excuse for a man. I knew what he was up to. He had given the appearance of joining the firefighters, and then when they rushed out of the village, had held his horse back, confident that in confusion he would have not been missed. "He sounds like a coward," Thomas said. "A coward? He was far worse than that when he was captain of his own ship. He was the most careless mariner, and then a storm came up, and his sails were shredded, and his ship swallowed in the sand. 26 brave souls were drowned because of him." You see? By the time I reached home, the wind had become so harsh and cold that my mother sent me to fetch more logs for the fire. It was then I saw a group of men sliding through the woods beyond our home. I wondered why they had not accompanied the other townsmen to assist in fighting the fire. Then I should see that carrying lanterns finally I was able to discern the face of the leader. It was Samuel L. Lewis. He was always jealous of Captain Hallett, and I knew instantly what he was about. He had become a moon cusser and was planning to destroy the monomer. A moon cusser, Thomas could tell from the way Sal said the word. It wasn't a good thing. A moon cusser is a thieving man who could put lanterns on a beach to make the captain of an approaching ship believe he was in a harbor. Then when the ship met shallow water and broke up, the cargo would wash up and the moon cusser would steal it. Thomas just knew that Silas was about to tell him. Samuel L. Lewis was jealous of Captain Hallett and was going to do that because he knew that Captain was nearly home. Thus had grasped quickly his foul purse. Thomas shook his head. The townsmen were gone. Most of the women in the village had small babies and could never have left them. But I knew I had to save the monomer and could not do it alone.